Isle of Dogs is the most recent animated feature film of the year, from the intrepid mind of Wes Anderson, the man behind cinematic hits of the past such as The Grand Budapest Hotel. Recently released by Fox Searchlight Pictures, it is a stop-motion animated film and Anderson's second venture into animation, his first being Fantastic Mr. Fox back in 2009, which also employed stop-motion, so Anderson is no stranger to the medium. In addition to being helmed by an established filmmaker in Hollywood, the film also features an all-star cast consisting of Bryan Cranston, Edward Norton, Bill Murray, Jeff Goldblum, Tilda Swinton, Scarlett Johansson, Liev Schreiber, Ken Watanabe, and Yoko Ono. Yes, as in Beatles member John Lennon's second wife and widow. This is a movie I've seen being discussed a fair bit in the lead up to its release, and my interest was piqued after it was brought to my attention in one of my live streams. I saw the movie on Monday, April 16th at 9:45 in the morning, Australian Eastern Standard Time, and I thoroughly enjoyed the movie. 2018 has already been a great year for animation and television, and if this movie is any indication, then animation and film is going down the same path. For the premise, Isle of Dogs takes place in its own version of a near-futuristic Japan, where an outbreak of a potentially deadly strain of canine virus has spread across Megasaki City. As a preventative measure, or perhaps a mere act of prejudice against dogs, the newly appointed Mayor Kobayashi declares all dogs be banished to Trash Island. 6 months later, Kobayashi's 12-year-old nephew and ward, Atari, builds himself a makeshift plane, flies and crashes it on Trash Island, and with the aid of a group of 5 dogs, Rex, King, Duke, Boss, and Chief, searches the island for his dog Spots, all in the midst of a conspiracy unraveling in Megasaki City. One has to admire the amount of painstaking effort placed into stop-motion animation. Traditional and digital animation are already impressive branches of an even more impressive medium, but there's a novelty to stop-motion animation that the other two means can't exactly match. So much attention and care are put into every single frame of a stop-motion animated work, and I dare say that the attention and care are well worth it. Isle of Dogs is a remarkable looking film. The amount of detail in this movie is astonishing. Many of its shots are picturesque, beautiful, and in some cases, faithfully replicate real-life locations. What impresses me the most about Isle of Dogs' animation, however, is the way fur and hair are animated. The jittery and stiff nature of stop-motion aside, the fur of the dogs in particular moves surprisingly fluidly, which is not something I would have ever expected from this medium. I have no idea how the animators did it, but I have to give credit where credit is due. It's really good. The story is a pretty complex web consisting of a boy who loves dogs, family matters, and political intrigue. It doesn't go too deep to the point of exploring the intricacies of human nature, but for how many bases the movie covers, it treats these issues in a way that's both diligent and thoughtful. The complexities are interwoven together with more lighthearted elements to keep the film from being too complex or depressing. Though I wouldn't say that the movie is too lighthearted. Much of the humor is built on cynicism, self-awareness, and deadpan responses. Given the show that I mainly review, this brand of comedy is right around my alley, and Isle of Dogs delivers on that pretty darn well. The comedy is compounded by the excellent performances of the cast. Bryan Cranston specifically does a damn good job voicing the typically stoic and distant Chief. His deliveries might be intended to be as deadpan as humanly conceivable, but the deliberation that he puts into his lines evokes a larger gamut of emotions beyond boredom. This also applies to Liev Schreiber as Spots. While on the topic of voice performances, in an interesting decision, the Japanese dialogue does not come with subtitles. It adds authenticity to the movie and allows for audience immersion. That being said, this can make the film difficult to digest because of inherent language barriers. It's not entirely bad, however. The combination of the characters' body language and inflections, the musical score and narrative timing, and the actual simplicity of the dialogue itself enables the audience to easily contextualize the dialogue. Thus, piecing the movie together is in reality a simple affair. Isle of Dogs is a damn good movie just from these things alone. But this is not a perfect movie by any means. The most obvious flaw that has been pointed out so much by now is the cultural appropriation. Allegations have been thrown left and right that the dogs in this movie are far more human than the actual humans, with the dogs' American English speech juxtaposed against the uncaptioned Japanese of their human counterparts. This is made worse by a stereotypical portrayal of Japan born from the mind of a tourist and not so much a Japanese native. From kabuki performances, to taiko instruments, to sumo wrestlers, to the preparation of sushi, pushing the film away from realism and a little closer to spectacle. And the instances of self-awareness unfairness on the movie's part have not dulled this criticism. The only exception to this unfortunate effect is Atari, who acts as a bridge between humans and canines, and to an extent, his fellow preteens and adolescents. But even that last bit is a little tenuous. The character of Tracy Walker, the American foreign exchange student voiced by Greta Gerwig, is accused of compounding the cultural appropriation criticism while also being the subject of her own criticism. A seemingly innocuous presence who critics claim to be an example of a bigger issue, that issue being the white savior character archetype. Why is that, you say? Well, take a look. Amidst the typically passive Japanese society, she is the one who rallies her fellow classmates and even a handful of citizens to take action. Wow. Ignoring the fact that her subplot leads to absolutely nowhere, this is an oversight that is always going to have unfortunate consequences, regardless of the outcome. As unfortunate as these are, I doubt that Wes Anderson has something against Japanese society. It's even been said, by Anderson himself no less, that he has an infatuation for Japan, and this movie could be his way of showing his appreciation. I consider these drawbacks to be consequences, side effects if you will, of the storytelling devices Anderson employed. They were caused by a lack of foresight instead of malicious intent, but it still doesn't excuse the creative team for their slip-ups. They could have been easily avoided had Anderson been just a tad bit clairvoyant. Isle of Dogs is an accomplishment in animation on a number of standpoints. The technical prowess of the film is remarkable, achieving the pinnacle of stop-motion animation's capabilities. The all-star cast is perfectly on point, with Cranston and Schreiber as the show stealers. From a storytelling perspective, it's deceptively complex and something that one can greatly appreciate, but in terms of cultural progressiveness, it takes a couple of steps backwards, more a byproduct of an American filmmaker's attempt at depicting a foreign culture than anything, that nonetheless remains inexcusable. I give it a 4 out of 5. I'm really happy for films like this and people like Wes Anderson, who demonstrate that animation is a medium worth taking seriously by taking it seriously themselves. If you can get past the unfortunate misfires of the movie, then it has a lot to offer, and I myself recommend it. And that'll be it for this video, and I hope to see you all for the next one. Until then, I'm the one and only CR Martin, and I'm gonna go walk my dog. Ciao for now.